The video footage of our guest Kyle Trocolla has been tampered with in what appears to be a recent security breach. Experts have referenced many anecdotal information sources which seem to indicate that there may be a connection to another former guest, Mr. Ethan James. Tensions have been increasing between Mr. Trocolla and Mr. James. During his appearance on this podcast, Mr. James challenged Mr. Trocolla to a rock-paper-scissors duel, calling him out hard and making incendiary allegations about Mr. Trocolla's lack of wrist strength. Mr. Trocolla subsequently came to our studio and accepted the challenge, calling Mr. James a bully. He even went as far as to say Mr. James was the Dr. Evil of our local music scene, indicating several feline agents suspected of being in his service. Another potential agent was named, but we will not confirm or deny anything here, as the facts are still being revealed in this incident. We can say the name rhymes with J-Wow Jelly Cream. As for the compromised footage, upon review, our primary establishing shot was shifted in such a way that Mr. Trocolla was almost completely cut out of the frame. Luckily, our producer had intercepted some intel just before filming began and deployed a secondary recording device. This last-minute heroism is the only thing which kept the nefarious plot from being entirely successful. We will do our best to keep you, the viewer, informed as details develop in this matter, but for now, we are pleased to be able to bring you this footage. May it serve as a testament to justice, and righteousness, and freedom of speech, a blazing beacon of triumph against censorship. And so, without further ado, we bring you Mr. Kyle Trocolla. So this is something we usually do to start it out. It helps sync the audio and the video, and we just go so he knows where we are. And you're in. All right, welcome to Next Stage Podcast. Welcome back if you've listened before. We have Kyle Trocolla here, and he has a huge wealth of experience and history with the local scene here in Danbury. Has played with many bands. The current incarnation is Kyle Trocolla and the Strangers, or just the Strangers?
Kyle Trocolla and the Strangers. I would love for it to just be the Strangers, but it came out of touring by myself acoustically for a while, and so like there's a thing where like people had seen my name, and if you take it away from that, like when we go back to a town, like it's good to have some name recognition, but it's also like that thing where like you put your name on something and like as unpretentious as you want it to feel, it automatically
like the Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
So it came out of the fact that you were touring solo acoustic things, kind of built a name as a solo act, and then you added musicians after that, or was that? Yeah, it was
like I always, everything I always wrote, I wrote for like a full band.
Yeah.
And like I started that project when I was in Two Fisted Law, and it was always songs that like I wanted to write to bring to Two Fisted Law, and Two Fisted Law was kind of like on its downward. It was kind of at the end, and they never just got there. So like I put them all out on like an acoustic record, and then like still wanted to like scratch that itch of like hearing them loud and full band, and like so like I just started using like the guys from Two Fisted Law and people I liked, and it became this thing where like there were like 4 lead guitar players who, if they could play, they played, and if they couldn't, they like we went to the next guy on the list. So it was just like a collection of people I liked playing music with, like learning some songs and going out and playing them.
And these were songs that you had been writing like all along, and that were kind of parallel to what you were doing with Two Fisted, and it was just songs you would only do acoustic, or were they ones you would ever do with those guys?
Well, was it like a lot of it started out as stuff that like I wanted to bring to Two Fisted Law, and that just like never materialized with them, but like I still thought they were good songs, so like started going out as Two Fisted Law was ending, was like can't stop playing music, that's not a thing we can do. So like just went out and started playing them by myself, and it takes a while to get used to doing that when it's like all by yourself, but like after like doing it for a year, it felt pretty good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe I'll put out a record, and it found some kind of audience, and led to like me being like, now I want to hear these songs with a full band. So that like the acoustic record was called The Stranger, so that's why the full band just became the Strangers, so that we didn't have to think of a band name. We went very low hanging fruit.
Yeah. Oh, that works. And so just to back up a little bit of your history, I mean, where did you start? When did you first start playing instruments? Was it guitar first? Was it bass, drums?
No, for me it was like when I was 5 years old. Like I have this very vivid memory of this, and I don't know if like somehow like my brain created it as an origin story, but like I totally remember walking through like the Danbury Fair Mall. Like I think like it probably had just opened. I was 5 years old, which means this is like the early 80s, and I was walking by a giant like a big screen TV in the mall outside of like some weird electronics shop, and like the Charlie Daniels band was on. I'm like, that's cool. Like, I like that. So I'm like, I want to play the violin. And like my parents were like super supportive of like anything like that we like found interest in. So like within a week, my parents had like bought me a violin, found me a violin teacher, like, and like I started playing violin when I was like in kindergarten, when I was really young.
Wow.
And like, and played all the way through college. Like that was like my main instrument. When I was in high school, you know, like I started forming my first band, and bands like are joining like friends who were like playing, like doing cover stuff and stuff like that when I was like 16 or 17.
And you were on the violin in those bands?
I played violin, and like
Did you call
I
it
made
violin
those,
or fiddle?
I called it violin because like I was like a classically trained like violinist. Like I played in like orchestras all over the place and symphonies and stuff like that.
I would have never guessed that. This is breaking news to me.
Yeah. Like I literally like for and then like I played in like some quartets in college and things like that, and like I still have the same violin that I had in like my first full size violin. I still have it at home.
Did you have to start on like a mini one or something?
Yeah, when I was 5, like it was like I think it was probably like, you know, like a quarter size violin, so it was like a toy.
Is it like thinner so you can get it under your chin easier?
It's tiny. It's like a ukulele. But like yeah, I remember like and like, you know, like I remember like some of my first violin lessons where I'd go to like they were like at Westcon at like the West Side campus in some room, and like walking in when I was like 5 or 6 years old, with my parents like terrified but like really excited, like, oh, I'm gonna be in Charlie Daniels band one day.
So that was your first hero.
Yeah, and it took me like, and the weird part about it was like it literally took me because my first band in high school, like I was gonna play violin in that band, and it took like literally like 12 or 13 years to like from the part where I was like, I want to play violin in like a rock band. It took me like 14 years or whatever to get there, and I was like,
did you ever want to be in the Dave Matthews Band?
Hell yeah, man! Like I think those guys, like I know that.
I hear he's looking for a violin player. Dude, that guy had some Me Too stuff thrown out.
I would have to get my chops back big time, like I haven't played violin seriously since like college, and that's like 20 years now. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. Wow.
But like I've still got it, and I actually played the guitar player in The Strangers, Jeremy Zombie, put out an acoustic record.
You guys have done some tours together too,
we
right?
have, yeah,
along with Ethan James.
Yeah, we took Ethan.
Who called you out, by the way, on here? He wants to arm wrestle you or do rock paper.
He would never arm wrestle.
I think it was thumb wrestling.
I think it was thumb wrestling.
Rock paper scissors.
And just to be clear, I'm here.
Oh, hear that, EJ? Show up anytime you want.
Yeah, where's Ethan?
Yeah, we got to actually do that live here.
Yeah.
Live on the podcast.
But I feel like
we need a rock, paper, scissors.
I feel like that's
showdown.
Definitely, this is what Ethan does. Just the internet world, this is what Ethan does. He talks a lot. As long as you're not standing in the room, it's like an after school special.
Ooh.
Like, here's what I learned. Like, you stand up to bullies and they back right down.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Ethan James, as much as he sells love and peace and he wants to be everybody's friend, huge bully.
He is a bully.
Bullies me, and then when you stand up to bullies like I'm doing right now, here I am, EJ, ready to thumb wrestle.
And where is he?
Where's Ethan James?
Nowhere to be seen.
Nope, hiding out.
He's probably texting or Facebook posting about this right now.
I think he has an underground lair where he's the Dr. Evil of the like local music scene. Where like
Who's his mini-me?
Like he's got like 9 cats, dude. So he's got like a mini-me for like every day of the week. He's got like his, I guess like Dr. Evil had a cat, so that wouldn't be his mini-me. That would be
maybe Joao.
Joao is his mini-me. Yeah, I think he bullies Joao too. Like Joao, like if you have been bullied by Ethan James, when you see this, just like use like the winky emoji, and we'll all know.
Hashtag me too.
And if it's not safe, you can text instead of calling.
Yeah. Just like wink, a little wink, like we'll know.
Just what is that? The black circle on your hand? Is that what you're supposed to do? And
is
like
that
put
what
it to
it
the
is?
window?
I thought that was like a pirate thing.
The black spot.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where it's derived from. Like I'm being stolen by pirates here. I don't know. I've heard that. If you're ever like in trouble, if you can, I don't know where you're gonna get a
That's
Sharpie.
pretty conspicuous. Like I've been kidnapped. Do you have a Sharpie, sir? Like I'm totally on board for like Stockholm syndrome. I'm getting
I just
ready.
want to draw a fake mustache so nobody recognizes
it's the
me.
Evil name. It's the evil. You need the evil Spock goatee.
Ooh, evil Spock. That's a good reference.
Yeah.
So. Violin to guitar.
Violin,
where did you get?
So when I was in a band, the band I was in high school, like I was always like, I always like kind of embraced like the nerdiness of like my growing up. Like it was like science fiction and comic books. And
did your parents play music at all, or anybody else?
So my dad is a drummer. My dad plays drums in Tennessee now in like 3 different bands. Wow. He plays like drums in like a big band, like kind of like this like. Kind of like
Gene Krupa.
Yeah, like and then he's got another like kind of a smaller band called, I think it's called Collaboration. I think that's the name of his band. And they play like they play like old folks homes, and they play like the like clubhouses at golf courses and stuff, and like
must be some good paying gigs though, those kind of things.
Yeah, like I'm sure my father at this point makes
money.
way more money than I do playing music.
Country club money's got to be nice.
And he's now in like the coolest thing that he does every year. Right around this time, he's in a bell choir.
Really?
So like
white gloves and
everything. Like, yeah, 100%. And like my mom will like go to the things and like live stream them for him.
Yeah.
And I was playing a show, and like I think we were in New Haven or something, and like, you know, like as I do, I had a little bit of downtime, so I turned on my phone. My mom's live broadcasting one of my dad's big band shows, and so now like I'm just walking around the bar, like being like, "Dude, my dad like is playing in you gotta listen to this." And like now I got like 5 people, and we're sitting here on Facebook watching my dad's show. It's pretty great. Like it's pretty awesome. And like my dad played drums on my acoustic record, the only song that has any other like instrumentation that I didn't play. My dad played.
And was that something you guys got together for, or did you do it like remotely?
Yeah, because he was up because my parents live in Tennessee now. Mm-hmm. So my dad was up for like some holiday, and I happened to be like in the middle of recording it, and we had talked about like, I want you to play drums on it. I think that'll be cool. It'd be something like, you know, like one of those things that you have forever that's like really rad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so like I brought him into the studio. I don't think my dad had ever been in like a proper recording studio.
Really?
And like he like sat there for an hour like tuning his drums to get like a very specific thing, and it was probably like that was one of the most rewarding like recording studio experiences I've ever had, because it was like I don't know how many people get to do that. You know? It was super rad.
And when you did that, was it to like a live? You were playing along, or did he go to a click or something? Was that?
Well, I had already recorded all of the music, so he just played drums to the track that was already recorded.
So the track was already laid down.
I had sent it to him in Tennessee, so he had been able to kind of like rehearse it at home and get, you know, write a part for it, because like I don't write drum parts, so I can't do that. I can play like 3 drum parts. I did not get the gift of drums from my father, but it was awesome.
So you started out violin, and when did you pick up a guitar? Was that along with like the high school bands?
Yeah, kind of like the guys I played with in high school, super talented musicians, and like we by that time, like violin was really the only instrument I played.
Yeah.
Like I could pick up stuff like harmonica or like stuff like that.
Triangle
stuff like you mess
Maybe a
around
shaker.
with, like you had that
Perhaps a
everybody
xylophone.
kind of had laying around, like. But I was always like I was saying, I always embraced that like nerdy thing culture of myself, because like for me it was like sci-fi movies and like toys and comic books and all that stuff in high school. So like
Star Wars or Star Trek? Which would you?
So I love both.
Yeah.
But like if like Desert Island, pick one, it's gonna be I'm taking Star Wars.
Yeah.
Just because like that was like I was born in 1977. I was like that was like my whole childhood was like going through the original trilogy.
That's awesome.
And like we all hold the Star Wars movies to a pretty high standard, so I don't know if I'd take all of the Star Wars movies with me.
I was talking about the original three.
Yeah, the original three.
Because there was a resurgence when they were
great, but
when they were re-released in, what was that, like the late 90s, early 2000s, when they were re-releasing them. And then there was all the Star Wars toys again. Like, I got really nerdy into it at that point. I remember my Christmas wish list was all Star Wars toys, and like had a little like Hoth battle set and like, X-Wing
Legos,
fighter.
whatever you can get your hand on, man.
And it was like, I felt like I was experiencing it again. Maybe that's what they were trying to do, because they were releasing them like, spaced out in theaters, and only certain theaters had them, but then everything with it. I felt like I was getting that experience,
Yeah.
At the time, I had them like arranged on shelves over my bed.
I've still got like some of my original toys from when I was like 7 or 8, like. And like my wife's like, no, you cannot put that on the shelf in the living room. but I've had it for like 40 years. It's part of me. No, it goes in the basement.
How many things does she have on the shelves in the living room?
Whatever she wants.
Oh, and you don't
all
get
the
one?
right things. No.
Not even a
No,
figure?
that's not true. That's not true.
Who's your favorite character?
Han Solo.
Yeah. Have you ever dressed as him for Halloween?
Of course.
Will you dress as him for a show one time?
I would love to. Like
Han and the Strangers?
that is a classy outfit. That is an outfit that has stood the test of time, man.
Yeah. It's good style, man.
Yeah,
Those
man.
pants with the stripe down the side.
Yeah, not everybody's wearing robes, but everybody can pull off a vest.
Yeah. So
forcing my band from high school to teach me to play some guitar, like some of like the just like basic guitar stuff, because they were all great, like multi-instrumentalists. Like one kid would stop playing guitar for a song and he'd be the drummer for it, and like then like this kid would switch from guitar to bass, or like the only thing I could switch to at the time was mandolin, because a mandolin setup is exactly the same as a violin.
Really?
Yeah.
just has frets though, or do you have fretless
It's just
mandolins?
right. It's just fretted, and like, but it's like it is like if you can play, like it's the same setup, it's the same tuning, it's the same,
Oh, I didn't know that.
so
That
you could
makes sense.
Yeah, and so like we were doing what's the REM cover? Losing My Religion.
Losing My Religion.
And I'm like, oh, I can play a different instrument for this. Give me the mandolin. I can definitely do that part. But like
Led Zeppelin song that sounds like crucifixion music. It's like,
But so I made those guys. I was like, you guys got to teach me some guitar. Like I can't like have everything about my life be kind of like, oh, like he's a good violin player. He's in like this like orchestra or that orchestra. I'm like, that kind of like you're never gonna get girls playing in like, come see my orchestra. Like there's nobody hanging out backstage when you're like, sorry, I've got to like tune my violin. But so like I thought it would be real cool to learn some guitar. And
now,
like,
what would people throw on stage for an orchestra? Girls like throw their bras to rock bands,
like opera glass, I don't know, like
one of those fans that like folds up.
like they unbutton the top button of their collar, like, ooh, it's getting wild.
Maybe their wig and you can see their real hair.
There it is.
Here's my real hair. So what were you listening to music-wise? Was there any, like, were you getting into guitar music at the time, or were you always
growing up, like my dad, huge 50s, like rock and roll. It was always rock and roll. And it wasn't always rock and roll for me, because the first record I ever chose for myself that I was like, this is like, I'm going to go into the record store, was Master of Puppets.
Good solid first choice.
Yeah, like and it could have gone either way for me, because I was holding Master of Puppets and Van Halen 1984, and I was like,
Was this when they were released around?
It was pretty close.
Yeah.
It was pretty close. And I'm holding both these records, and like this was like, I consider
Blue
it like,
pill, red pill.
like a major like fork in my life, where I'm like, am gonna go with Metallica, and like down the road I go, like to a very specific types of music, and like but like and the first cassette tape even before that, like that I got was the Beastie Boys' License to Ill, and like that started like. That record is still like a perfect record for me.
yeah.
Like I think it's amazing. Like and I remember being in the 5th grade and sitting on the back of the bus with my like Radio Shack like tape like knockoff Walkman thing. Like
What color was it?
it was gray and it had like the orange
red
thing.
one, so it looked like the Sony one?
Yeah, no, it was gray. It was
Oh,
like
you said red.
yeah, no, it had like the orange headphone thing, so you could look like Marty McFly from Back to the Future. But like there was some like questionable lyrics in there.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on the back of the bus and being like, "You guys gotta hear this."
Did you corrupt any kids?
Yeah, like
hey,
like
man,
I was
check this out.
like one of my buddies who I played with in like my first bands in high school, John Dotson, who is still in the Connecticut music scene, like has a killer band called Whatsoever, has played in like tons of great bands, and is like one of the most like these like in terms of musicianship and like musicians, like he's a guy who I'm like, that guy, his entire family, amazing musicians, like go see Whatsoever, that band is.
Do they have any upcoming things that you know of?
I'm not sure, I'd have to look, but it's
Yeah.
getting to be that time of year when everybody kind of is like retreats to their like basement and like, we're gonna write a new record in the winter. And then
Hibernation time.
Then you come out of the winter and you're like, we didn't write that record. Like, it was way too cold out to even like lug gear into a club. But like, yeah, I remember sitting on the back of the bus with John Dotson and being like, dude, you gotta listen to this. Like it was the Beastie Boys, and like from the Beastie Boys got me to like then like you start like this was pre-internet, so you couldn't just be like, I'm gonna Google the Beastie Boys and see what they're into. But like every time like, and we didn't have MTV growing up or anything like that, but like I'd go to a friend of mine's house who had MTV, and then like you got to see that stuff, and like you could like kind of get bits and pieces in like little magazines here and there, and like I remember like talking to somebody and them telling me about the connection between the Beastie Boys and the Bad Brains, and then I had to find that band.
Yeah. Wow.
And, like,
What's
that
the connection
band,
there? I mean, I know the Beastie Boys were
started,
a punk band.
Yeah, they started
first.
out as like a hardcore band, and throughout like I actually there's a killer old New York hardcore comp called New York Thrash, and like it's got like the Bad Brains on it, and it's got like
Did they like do shows together? They were on just
the
that
Beastie
comp
Boys? Well,
with
so
them?
the Bad Brains were on that. The Adrenaline OD is on that comp, and like lots of New York hardcore, like around the New York area, or like what was big in hardcore. Like that was a pretty big record, and the Beastie Boys are on it, and like. But the Beastie Boys chose their name because they were like big hardcore fans, and the double B thing is because they were huge Bad Brains fans. And
So kind of like the Led Zeppelin Def Leppard thing.
yeah.
Derivation of the name.
Yeah, and so it was like so like you hear that, and then all of a sudden like I like am able to like find somebody like get my hands on like some Bad Brains music, and then you're just like, this is insane.
So that's what really turned you on, was the hardcore.
Yeah,
punks.
like it was
what,
like.
What would you consider Bad Brains exactly? I mean, that
Oh,
because they toe the line between
they're,
hardcore,
like,
thrash, reggae. Like
they
I don't think they were
were-
concerned about his style.
Yeah,
but-
I think they were like one of the most technical like hardcore bands around in the 80s. Like they were fast. I feel like they were faster than everybody else, but like tighter and more technical, and like
Yeah.
you had like HR, just like the dude was doing backflips and rolling around on a stage going crazy, and it was like also kind of
Yeah,
like
forget Diamond Dave. Give me.
yeah, like it was also
HR.
like, but you also got like that kind of theatrical thing where you had this front man just going absolutely crazy, and like that was like that like you know that's the stuff that makes you want to like start a band and be
Yeah.
like. And like all of those, and the cool things about like all those early punk rock bands is like everything was accessible. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like you're sitting in like the nosebleed section of a stadium to see Fleetwood Mac or like REO Speedwagon or whatever. Like you were in like a seedy club or like.
So getting that proximity to the
Yeah,
band
man,
was,
like
you
it
think, a
se-
very important
like
element of.
well, I think it makes it feel like accessible to a level that you can do it. You know,
Yeah. not as sometimes a big band on stage, you feel like you're watching a movie,
right?
Of a band,
or like
and it's just like
or something that's so big and so out there that you could never like be a part of that world. Like like the amount it's like you're a kid who like figured out how to write, I don't know, like simple like computer code, and then like you're not going to be Apple. Like I can write a 3-chord punk rock song and I can go play it for my friends and like.
But then something like to take the technology tip, writing like apps for a phone, like people can do that pretty much anywhere. You know, you don't. All you have to do is have access. So that's almost like an analogy.
I think music is like that now, that it's like where everything's digital now, like where you can putting and there's an outlet for like anybody can put anything online, no matter, like you could learn your first guitar riff and just be like record, publish.
So I want to circle back to, you had mentioned at the time of discovering music and snippets here and there, and maybe watch something on MTV. You said, oh, it wasn't Google. We couldn't go Google the Beastie Boys. Yeah. But now we have this different music environment where there's everything available all the time, and unfortunately for free most of the time. Like, what do you think about those juxtapositions between when you were discovering music and what it meant to have to like seek it out, as opposed to now where everything's in your pocket for free?
I think it's awesome. I think that there is that concept that that has changed now, that like people believe all music should be free. It's like a sensory thing. Like you can't charge me for something. I can just hear it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's maybe that's the worst part about it, is that it's not like a tangible thing anymore. Like it's not like a record. I remember getting records.
It would feel different to lift a record out of a store than to click something and be like, well, where's the property?
What's the product? Like the product is just like this thing I can't see or feel or hear.
And that's weird about music, is it's just vibrations of air.
Right. And that's the being a musician, like we're around a lot of musicians and they're like tangible stuff when you're going out and playing shows. If people aren't going out to shows, like where are they? Like you would have to like literally make a point to go and find tangible music you could hold in your hand. And I think that's one of the things that we've lost, whether it's whether it's making money off it or not. I remember like just sitting down, like how many bands did I discover from sitting down with a record, opening up the record and listening to it, reading the lyrics in the in the insert, and then going to the like the thank you section. I used to always turn to that thank you section and be like, oh, who's this band like touring with, or who are they inspired by? And like if I don't know them, like maybe I'll go like when Volt Music was still a thing, like that's where we would go, like because they had a really good like obscure kind of like rock and roll thing. I remember Rick Foster, who was one of the guitar players from was the original guitar player from Two Fisted Law, tells this awesome story about finding a record in Volt, because he was just like, we would just go in there and like sometimes you read something in a liner note and we're like, I got to try and find this band. He came across a record that had on the cover was the Challenger exploding, and like we're nerds, we love space and stuff. Our new record's called The Moon USA. Like, it's got a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson in it, like it's
that's amazing.
Like, so he picks up this record. It's got the picture of the Challenger exploding on it. And he's like, I'm buying this record. And he looks at the title and it's just called Teachers in Space. and this is the record that we still talk about, that like nobody's probably heard of this band or this record. And like, he's got it somewhere because like he went into a record store and he put his hands on it and was like, this is a cool thing.
What was the music like?
It was just like a bad punk rock band that like, got the record out and like,
well, that's a little more amazing that, like, at the time when things had to be physically pressed and manufactured and all that something like that got out, Teachers in Space, whereas now anything can get out. It seems, anyone can upload. But like,
right. But that's
how did Teachers in Space get their record made?
Like, how does something like that find its way to a kid today where like everything is curated for you, like your Spotify weekly
the algorithms that tell you what you already like.
Your weekly Discover playlist is like generated by like something else, like not by like it's
AI.
yeah, like
it
it's not at all random. Like you're
Even
like
your YouTube things, if you go there, also suggested, and like it kind of narrows you down because they think you want what you
like directed to you. So like that's the thing I think is saddest about it. Like the money shit. Like sorry. Like is what it is what it is. Like some people are gonna make a ton of money playing music. Some people are gonna make
and that's always been the way.
But like everybody's gonna be happy because they're playing music. You know, like.
Do you think the way we consume changes our relationship to the music? What, did it seem like more of a personal thing when you were discovering these bands based on the liner notes and getting a record, or do you think these days there's the same connection to the music? Do people care as much?
I think so. I think it does. I think like music is a thing that like it's like I've heard people have asked me like what got you into music or something like that. I'm like, it's music, man. Like that's like what got
my ears got me into it.
What got you into chocolate? I don't know. It's universally delicious. Like it's just objectively awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's changed the way. I don't think it's changed the way we consume music because like I think everybody will find something that like touches them in a certain way, and I think it's changed the way that we have. I think it's important that it's changed the way that music gets produced, maybe, and that there's like a much more accessible platform to put stuff out into the world.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's hard because there's so much just being put out there, and how do you find
Does it get watered down or
diamond
cheapened?
in like this mountain of coal, like or like the thing you love, but like everybody's diamond's different. Like the thing that like.
Well, I guess going to a record store and picking out something based on the cover is not that.
You might. That record could have just been terrible, and I think it was pretty good. Like it wasn't terrible, but like we still talk about that. That was forever ago, and we still talk about like finding that record. But like
Teachers in Space, you got a fan right here. If you want to reunite and do a tour, maybe we'll get the word out for you. Where are they now? Let's have a VH1 Where Are They Now series.
Yeah, and
or no, not VH1. A Next Stage Where Are They Now? Teachers in Space. Let's get them on.
They're probably all like. They probably work for NASA now or something. It's like some of those guys and the things they went on to do. But
so what was your first band? Okay, you had bands in high school. Did you do shows with them? Was it just practicing thing? What was your first legit band that you'd call it?
Like I don't. It depends how you like classify legit band. I don't know if I've ever been in a legit
I guess the
band,
first band that maybe you had a name for and did shows and had maybe a something recorded or a sticker or made a poster.
Two Fisted Law was the first one that we really took seriously.
Yeah. And how'd that come about?
The band in high school we called ourselves the Refried Dreams, which is the worst band name ever, and it came from the fact that we used to go down to Taco Bell like. That would be our run out, like in the middle of our thing, like, and that was a crazy band because like we practiced in John Dotson's basement. His brother was in this killer band that actually played. If you remember the 104 Fest, his brother's band did like this long, drawn out Battles of the Bands thing, which I learned were awful, horrible, dumb things, but he did this Battle of the Bands,
like an elimination round.
Yeah,
sort of
was
thing?
to play the very first ever Radio 104 Fest, and his band won it and played the first 104 Fest. And I remember going to that. But so like John Dotson's basement was this awesome like musical haven, and his dad had a Pepsi machine in there. There was one thing that was Pepsi and everything else was beer. But like we'd go down there and we never once thought about like drinking his dad's beer. Like we were there.
Did you have to pay for it?
No. All you had to do was go in the corner and be like, "Ding, Coors Light."
Were they labeled or was it mystery?
It was like you could see the can in like.
Oh, you actually see the can through.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, but it was like we were there to play music, so like that was something. I mean, we didn't take it terribly serious. It was like, but like we were nerdy kids who wanted to play music, and like there was and that's what we did. And but like Two Fisted Law, probably the first band that we took real seriously. And like it took us a long time to decide to take that seriously. Like for a long time we used to have this practice space in Brookfield, and it was just like a loft over like it wasn't, I wouldn't even call it a loft. It was like, it was in a warehouse space. And somebody had basically built like a deck above the warehouse space. And like Ricky's company rented it for storage, and it had this thing. We're like, oh, can we practice up there? It's got electricity, it's got heat, like it's got everything we need. So we paid like, I think we paid like $150 a month to rent this thing.
To rent the platform?
And we put a fridge in there immediately. We put a foosball table in before we moved anything musical into that room. And like, we would practice for like, we practiced on Thursdays and we practiced on Sundays. And Thursday practice was like, and we were in a place we could practice anytime. And like it was
industrial zoning.
Like you could, like nobody was going to give you a hard time ever. And so like we'd practice for a couple hours on Thursdays, and then Sundays would be like 12:30 to like in the afternoon to like until like we were too like, because we would at that point, Mr. Dotson's beer soda machine was not safe to us. Like like a practice on Sunday was usually 2 30-packs, and like we would practice until they were done. So sometimes we were there till 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever it was.
Just an all-day band day.
And like half of that was like we'd be playing foosball for 2 hours. We'd be like playing music for a bunch, and then we'd take a break and go get lunch. But like we did that for like 3 years. And then some of the guys in the band were like, nah, we're not into it anymore. And they left. And so that's when Ricky and I we're like, we got to scratch this itch. Started like an acoustic duo, went out and played some shows. We used to play the open mic at Larry's every single week, which was like
that was actually the first one I went to when I moved back. With that, this was 2008, 2009, so it was already like, you know, the end of it, but that was the first open mic I ever played in Danbury.
And it was like that open mic, I will tell you, like if you could like because Danbury has great musicians, but it always goes kind of through this ebb and flow of whether or not there's places to stage those musicians. And like Cousin Larry's was so influential in developing so many people, just giving people an opportunity to like play. And
well, they had music every night of the week,
every night of the week, like
and
touring
original
bands, like killer shows, like people who just came out to see what kind of noise people were making, didn't care if it was something they loved or hated. They just wanted to be like, this is a place where I can hear something I've never heard before. Like that place was like instrumental. But so like that kept us going, that like Larry's kept us going. And then we decided like, oh, we want to do let's see if we can get Two Fisted Law back together. And we asked a friend of ours, Jim Perella, if he'd be interested in singing. And he said, yeah, but we're going to take it seriously. Because he was a much more serious like band guy than we had. Had
he been in other bands before?
He had been in lots of other bands. And Two Fisted Law had played with some of his old bands, Last Kid Picked and Kidman. He used to play in bands with like Joe Russo and those guys, the guy, and Tony, and so he said, yeah, but we're gonna take it. We got to take it seriously. Like I'm not gonna just be like sitting like playing one show a year with like, because we literally in the 3 years that before that Two Fisted Law had this practice space where we were drinking beer and playing foosball. We played 3 shows.
You guys have foosball uniforms?
Yeah, we were real good. I will tell you,
Are you allowed to spin or no?
No, are you kidding me? No spinning and no scoring from the fives. But like we had played 3 shows in 3 years, like because and that was kind of what like ended that incarnation of Two Fisted Law. And Jim said, we're going to take this seriously. And so like we started like really like we spent 3 months just writing new music and like taking some of the old stuff and reworking it. And then we hit the road hard, and like we went from playing 3 shows in 3 years to playing like the first year we were with Jim, we probably played 75 shows that year. And then we said,
how do you know how to string them all together and book them? Like who had that knowledge?
Dumb luck, man. Like just like, cause like that's I think that's the thing about.
Did you guys have like a van and stuff you can get into? Or
no, we had a truck, and then like we had U-Haul trailers for a while, and then we bought a trailer. We still use the same trailer we bought like forever ago. We learned from just going out and like screwing it up as many times as we could. And like the great thing about like what we learned about the Connecticut music scene first was that it's a real tight-knit community. And like, so all the people, like we met all these bands who had been doing it, and they kind of gave us a piece of advice here and a thing here and somebody's name to book a show here. And like, And so after
so people were willing to help and share
it's
the
such
knowledge.
nobody's keeping their their little black book closed to anybody. Like if there's a name I know that I can help you out, like here you go, man, give this person a call and like tell them I sent you, and like they'll give you a show, or they'll give you a shot, and like so we started like branching out in Connecticut, and then we decided like let's go on a tour. And so we booked this 5 or 6 day tour. We recorded a record. We actually recorded our first record twice.
Where'd you record that?
So we recorded it at this place called Alien Studios up in New Britain. Not New Britain. Maybe New Britain. But like, so we recorded it once, and then like after a while, like we listened to it, and we're like, I wish we did this differently. So we went back to the studio and we're like, we'd like to just record this one part. The guy's like, okay. And he goes into his little file. He's like, I don't have your record anymore. It's deleted. Oh. And we're like, and like, we're like, well, this needs to change. Like we can't put the record out like this. So we recorded the whole record again. And like, we learned a lot.
Was it better?
It depends who you ask. I think it was better the second time. If you ask Rick Foster if it was better the second time, he would say nope, the first one was better.
Yeah. Were there shows in between that you guys were playing these, or was it pretty back to back?
No, we were always playing. Like we were putting out a record of songs we've been playing for a year. And we would never stop playing shows. Like Two Fisted Law there was never a time when we were like, oh, we need a break from this. Or like,
I meant in between the two recordings, was it like, you were like,
oh yeah, there was a couple of months.
Okay, so it wasn't like
we
a
sat on the record and like, cause we didn't know how to put it out or who might want it or what we were going to do with it. And, like we knew nothing. And like, so like we went through all these things where we're like, we want this to change. We want to fix this. We want to move this around. We want to add this song. And it was gone. We had to re-record it. Yeah. But once we had the record, like, we learned a lot doing that record. It was called United We Sit. We learned mostly like name things, clever things, and people think it's funny. But we went on like a 5-day tour, like down, like just down the East Coast. We went like to Pittsburgh and back, and it was awesome. And it was like the greatest time ever. And like we, in 5 days, we probably managed to lose like $500. Like there was no making money.
Yeah.
And it was still like, as soon as we got back, like we were sad, we're like, we miss it already. And started booking more tours. And like ended up like with that band over like 10 or 12 years, we toured everywhere, all over the country, like did tons of awesome stuff, broke down in vans and what I learned from that is that same sense of community that we have in like the Connecticut music scene, like, like it's everywhere. And like when you leave your like little music scene, which can be terrifying because like sharing music with other people is sometimes like you're sharing a big chunk of yourself. It can be terrifying. It's hard enough to share it with your friends, let alone like strangers who are going to judge you for it. Yeah. But like there's this great sense of community and like the further you go, like it just like you realize like this community of musicians is everywhere. And like I often say to people, like the United States is a big country, but the music scene is small. Mm-hmm. Like, so like people who I got to know, like I'd be like, do you like, I would open up their books to me and I'd meet a guy in like New Orleans, or and then he would send me to a guy in Nashville or like Texas. And like, I'm at the point now where when I call one of my friends, we all know all of the same people. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, no, I was like, I'm like, do you know anybody who's got a show on a Wednesday night in Wichita, Kansas? And they're like, yeah, here's this guy. I'm like, I already talked to that guy.
So there's like a secret musical map that's
it's
overlaid.
It's not even secret though. Like you just have to just have to go out there and meet people. It's definitely not secret. There's not like we may call it the underground, but like we all the door is left open to that underground, and like just everybody come on in. Like the water's fine. Here's another show for you, like 1,000 miles away. So. Like that's how we learned how to do that stuff was like just by meeting like one person who sent us to another person who sent us to another person, and that sense of community in the music scene is like you find it locally and you find it nationally.
Did you actually have? Oh, sorry.
Did you guys ever use like the indie Bible?
We used to use we used to.
I haven't heard of
one
that.
of the first ones. one of the first ones that we used was Go Book Your Effing Life.
Okay.
Which was like just like a little, like it was the worst put together website ever.
Yeah.
But it was just a database of like here's the state, here's the city, here's the places, and here's the like person who whenever they put it together you could contact.
Yeah.
And it was just like it got you in the door, but like it over time it just like wasn't curated anymore.
Yeah.
And like
I think there
you'd
was,
call
like-
and they'd be like, no, this is a Walmart now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, can we play your Walmart? That's cool. Like good built-in crowd.
You ever seen that video of
Sleeping there anyways.
the video of that band playing in a Denny's or something? It's like some young like hardcore band and it's at Denny's.
It's awesome.
And it's inside and he's like, "What the is up, Denny's?" And the
Yeah,
place
dude,
goes nuts.
we played the University of New Haven's cafeteria once. Like this kid, so somebody was like, "Oh, let me." Like when Two Fisted Law was starting to take itself seriously.
When it became conscious.
Like we were just like some kid was like, "I'll manage you. I'll get you some like killer shows." And we're like, all right, we'll let you like book 2 shows for us and we'll see where it goes and see if like you know anybody that we don't know. And so the first show he booked for us was at the University of New Haven cafeteria. It was awesome because
Daytime?
we played at dinner time, so killer crowd. And they paid us in like lunch tickets. Like you didn't get drink tickets, you got like a cheeseburger and fries. And like you can set up your merch over there. But it was like you see these kids come, and we were like poppy-ish melodic punk band that was like singing dumb songs about like drinking and girls and dumb stuff. Like we had some very like on the surface political stuff, but like the University of New Haven kids were not interested in hearing that at dinner time. They just wanted their frozen yogurt and they're like, get back out. But
Did
it
anyone
was,
throw
it was
anything at you?
super fun. No, it was super fun. No, they would have had to pay attention to us and throw anything at us. But like playing pizza shops and stuff like that, great.
Yeah. So the Two Fisted Law went on for how long was the run from
15
beginning?
years.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like that was like a pretty special group of people just because everybody had the same mindset. Everybody knew like we're not going to like make a living doing this. We're all still going to have jobs, but like we're going to have the most fun ever and meet some cool people and see some cool stuff. Like just like going out and touring was more about like what can we see in places we've never seen before, and like
It's a great perspective.
like what bands can we have? And like I don't think everybody has that and we were so happy, like it was so, like we were so happy with that being our business model, like to like just be like this is going to be a cool thing that we do for as long as we can do it. And maybe some people dig it and maybe some people won't, but like we're going to see some things and we're going to meet some people and we're going to hear some bands we wouldn't have otherwise heard. And like,
So it was playing the shows and having the experience was more valuable than any
that was all,
money.
that was
would have
all
been.
it was, you know,
As
like,
long as there's enough money to get gas in the tank or whatever.
yeah. And like part of the cool thing was like that band got like, you know, did enough stuff to go and play with some bigger bands and like, and then we got to go see those bands for free.
Yeah.
Like that was as much like,
What were some memorable big shows that you played that you're like, I can't believe we're playing with these guys? Or was there
my
moments like that?
favorite one ever was we played with it was probably right around this time in maybe 2012 2013 we played with the Reverend Horton Heat and the Misfits.
Wow.
And we did a lot of stuff, with the Jerry Only version of the Misfits, and he was always really, really good to us. And
How'd that connection come about?
we just like I think a lot of bands like us got the opportunity to open for the Misfits when they play, and like we did it a bunch of times, and like then they would start asking for us because we'd work real hard to like do as much as we could for their shows, and when they put out the Devil's Rain. When they put out the Devil's Rain record, which was I think the last one that the Misfits really put out before they started like charging $250 a ticket for original lineup, was we did the first couple of shows on their Devil's Rain tour and the last couple of shows with them. So like, and then like at the end of it, I remember Jerry Only just handing us like a box of bass strings. and like just handing like, and bass strings are expensive.
Oh, yeah.
That's like a big deal.
Yeah, 50,
and being like,
60
hey
a
man,
pack.
like this is the last day of tour. I don't need these anymore. Like, here you go. We're like, dude, this guy, like, this is awesome. So like, that's a guy like who's like, people like punk rock fans will like all have like their things they love and hate about the Misfits. Some people just hate them, but and other people just love them unconditionally. But like, people always say things like, oh, the Jerry only Misfits weren't the real Misfits. I'm like, I'll defend those guys forever.
Yeah.
Because they did like they did more for like small coming up bands than any other incarnation of the Misfits, you know,
More plugged into the real scene of it.
and if you love the Misfits, like for a while the Misfits were like, we played a lot with the incarnation that was Jerry Only and Des Cadena. If you're a punk rock fan and you will not go see Jerry Only, like founding member of the Misfits, and Des Cadena, founding member of Black Flag, go play a bunch of Misfit songs,
Yeah.
you're not a punk rock fan.
Yeah.
Like you just want to hold hands with whoever. Like, I don't know. Like you're not
we'll
like
just
just
the
go see it
t-shirt.
and have the most fun.
Yeah.
Like, so like those shows were always cool. Like, but that one with like the Reverend Horton Heat was crazy. It was insane. It was so great. But like, I also got to play the last time that the Adolescents ever played Connecticut. We got to play with them, and I got to meet Steve Soto, who just passed away not too long ago. And the Adolescents were always like one of our a band that was hugely
And
influential.
who are they? I
on
don't
us.
know who
So
they
the
are.
Adolescents were like a SoCal punk band who kind of like spearheaded like they spearheaded kind of like that SoCal punk sound. They were one of those first Southern California punk bands, and just like an incredible band, and like getting to meet Steve Soto, and hear him tell stories about like a lot of those early like SoCal punk guys. Like, I met him, I walked over and said hi to him, and it was a weird show because it was originally scheduled to be at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, and it got canceled.
Was that when it
there.
was flooded? The Chance flooded?
No, it was a big mess, like with ticket sales and all kinds of stuff. So it got canceled at the Chance, and me and Joaquin, who used to run a club in New London called the L&G, who's a huge part of the Connecticut punk and metal scene. We got that show rebooked at the Cherry Street Station.
Okay,
in
I've seen you guys play there a
48
lot.
hours. We had like 48 hours to let people know that the Adolescents and the Weirdos, who are also another like core punk rock band, we're going to be playing at Cherry Street Station, which is like a 200 person capacity, for a $5 cover.
Wow.
And like Stephan, like there was no ticket sales. You had to come to the door and pay the cover at the door.
Yeah.
And like as soon as that place was full, that was it. And it sold out. Like that place was sold out, and like before like the opening bands went on.
Yeah.
And but so I got to like, I had been like doing that. I was communicating back and forth with Steve Soto, like to like just having his number in my cell phone was
Yeah.
like crazy to me. But so I went and introduced myself to him, and like he starts telling all these stories about like all of the like Social Distortion guys and TSOL guys, and like the first time Mike Ness went and got an AIDS test, and like I'm like, cool man, like I'm holding it together. I'm like, all right man, I gotta go check on my guys and see, I think we have to load in or whatever. And I go around the other side of the van, and I'm like, guys, you gotta fucking hear this. I like the story. Steve's that was where I could finally like melt down and lose it.
Yeah.
But that was
Be the
like,
fanboy.
yeah, and then like getting to see like the Adolescents play for a $5 cover in like at Cherry Street Station, and who knew that was going to be like the last time they would play with Steve Soto in Connecticut. And
Yeah.
so that was cool.
So then from Two Fisted, and now you're doing with the Strangers, some of the members crossed over, and I know that Jeremy, you've done the acoustic
Yep.
tours with. Was he ever a part of Two Fisted officially?
He was
or-
never in Two Fisted Law, but Two Fisted Law used to play a lot of shows with his band.
Okay.
Towards the end of Two Fisted Law, played a lot of shows with his band Zombie, who are like one of the hardest working punk rock bands in Connecticut. They do a ton of touring. They just when we went out on the road, in July we did a U.S. tour, and we did it with them, and then they immediately went back out in September and did another U.S. tour, and like so they're working their butts off to like and they're a great band. When the Strangers first started, it was all the guys. It was basically just all the guys from Two Fisted Law.
Yeah.
Because we were like, it was just a thing where I'm like, I want to play these. Like, I put out the acoustic record, and I just wanted to play the songs like with full band because that's like how I wrote them and how I wanted to hear them. Yeah. And so I'm like, guys, you want to learn these songs? And they're not real hard. Like, they're easy songs. You can probably all learn them in a weekend. And we'll go out and play them. And, like, we just had fun doing that. And so when Two Fisted Law finally said, like, that's it, like, I was, took some time to reflect and then said, like, let's go. Let's do a thing. Let's have some fun. We, like...
Yeah, after 15 years of doing that, how can you just hang it up?
Yeah, I don't, like...
What was that like, the disintegration of that? Was that like...
Of Two Fisted Law?
Yeah, was that like personally, like emotionally hard for you? Was it like...
I mean, it was hard in the fact that I think that we, like, it was a totally different thing than what it had started as. Yeah. Like
musical style wise or what?
I think that musically it was changing, but like it should. Like you can't have like a band that's a band for 15 years. If we were writing songs like we had been writing in like 2002, 2003, that wouldn't have been terribly interesting for anyone A, to hear, or B, to play, and it was totally different. And by then, like, all the players in the band were different. Yeah. So like, and whenever we had somebody new come in, we were never like, you got to play the songs the way they are. Or like, you're a musician, like, be like you, like, if you want to rewrite a part or like you want to play it differently, like, be you in the song. And especially when we were writing new stuff, like everybody's different. And I thought like where it was when it kind of ended was like, I think we were writing good songs and it had like gotten kind of very musical, and like I was kind of stoked. It was fun to play. And that's what I missed, but it was something totally different than it had been.
More of a slow change then, because one person leaves and someone else comes in.
Yeah, and then we'd bring somebody in, and then it got to the point where like it wasn't that thing where everybody had the same mindset in the band. You know what I mean? Like, we were all friends who started a band together in order to like just go play, write songs, play foosball, and drink beer in a warehouse. Like, it was a band that like people, at least in certain places, like they knew, and so it had a reputation. And so like the people who came in were coming, like, had nothing to do with building that, but and we would never take somebody in the band. Like, my rule for somebody in the coming into the band was like, can I sit in a van with you for 10 hours and not want to murder you? Yeah. Like, we have to have like you have to be somebody I want to hang out with. Otherwise, like, what's the point? Yeah. So like I loved everybody who was in Two Fisted Law, who I was in Two Fisted Law with me, whether it was like the first guys or the last guys. Yeah. But like, it just was, at that time, it was not what it was, and like people were coming and going, and it got to the point where I'm like, well, like, let's just go do something else. Right. And so like that's where the Strangers came. Like, I started saying to some of those guys who still want to play music, but like, let's go do something different. Like, we had like all these great experiences with Two Fisted Law and met all these great people. Let's just go do something different. And I think the Strangers are a totally different band. Mm-hmm. I think what we write about is different. I think it's not like, for a long time I avoided like calling it like a punk band, because like I didn't think about it like a punk band. Like, because I think with like a punk band, you think about writing music a very specific way, and like, and I didn't think we were writing music like that. And like, I think it's punkish, but I don't think it's a punk band. I don't know. It's just a rock and roll band. It's got a nice Americana fish. Yeah, it's like, but like, like I'm not offended if somebody would be like, killer punk band, man. Like, that doesn't, like, that's cool. Like, whatever you think it is, I don't care what you call it. But like, I think it's different. I think it's just a rock and roll band. Like, I think it's different. And like,
there's even some vibes in listening to the record. I hope this isn't insulting, but some things remind me a bit of like Springsteen. Like, there's a certain epicness.
I hope this isn't insulting. But
I don't know if you don't like Springsteen.
I love Springsteen,
but something about it like has that like kind of epic feeling to it, where it feels like
Scott. I don't want to offend you, but I've always thought you looked a little like Brad Pitt.
Oh man, that's terrible. But yeah, and because I've listened to it before, and I still want to get a physical copy from you. But we were listening to it, before you came, and while we're setting up in the background, I was getting some of those vibes and those feelings from you. Something about the underlying, like, I don't know, like epic nature of the songs coming through. And let's talk about the recording.
Well, we were trying to create kind of we wanted it to sound big. Like we didn't want it to with recording Two Fisted Law records. The first thing that we always thought about was how do we capture the live energy, you play it as fast as you can, and you make sure that whatever your vocal performance is aggressive and out there, and you're not sitting back in it. And for this one, we wanted to make it sound big, big rock and roll.
I think you accomplished that.
Yeah, awesome. Elliot Geller, who recorded it for us, did some of the Two Fisted Law stuff, did my solo record. He is a killer engineer. His studio doesn't have, it's not a studio where it's got every piece of gear you could ever want, but Elliot is so talented in engineering a record, you don't need it. He'll get you the sound what you want with, and he's got killer gear, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't need all of it.
He knows his space.
Yeah, and and he's got great ideas, but he never tries to make you sound like something you're not. But But going in, we were we want to make this sound like a big, kind of big. And one of my favorite things, I love theatrical rock, the theatrics of rock and roll. I'm an unforgiving Kiss fan. I would never want to hang out with the guys in Kiss, but I will go see Kiss a million times just to see Gene Simmons, spit blood, and flaming swords, and guys flying around the stage and pyro. I'm that's how
the
many
spectacle.
it's so awesome. Guar and stuff like that, and monster bands, and just David Bowie and that kind of stuff, where it's it's the bigness and just the magical elements of rock and roll. Where
theater's very important, as I've heard many people who do that defend it, they say it's a gimmick or this and that, but their approach is they paid money, give them a show. Don't just stand there and do your thing. Put something on make it worthwhile. You know?
And so that's why we put the there's an intro track of
the quote about the moon being a territory for the U.S.
Well, yeah, it's about how great it is, landing on the moon was, and all that stuff, and that's part of just the theatrics of us being we're the biggest thing ever, humanity great, and it's just all so we wanted the record to capture something that big kind of theatrical kind of thing, and and I think we captured a lot of that, and I'm super stoked and super proud of that record.
Yeah, it's a great record, and I was actually singing along to a few things as in listening back, and I noticed that on the Taxi song, who's singing on that? That's not
Jeremy.
Okay.
Two of those
was
songs.
Was that his tune?
Yeah. So Zombie Beauty Queen, which is kind of a little pop punk one that's on the record, and Taxi are both Jeremy's songs, and that was one of the things that when Jeremy joined the band that him and I talked about, because him and I had done some solo acoustic tours together, and he had put out his own record. I'm let's make this band, we'll do some of your songs, because he's a really good songwriter. And
I like that when bands have another person sing songs sometimes, it gives a different, just a change to the ear when you're listening to the
and there
album.
are so many there's so many bands that I love that do that, and and then it helps me ease my hating the fact that my name is on it, and just be I'm not doing it to be an asshole.
Not being too pretentious.
Look, Jeremy's singing a song.
And I caught some of the what to me echoes your Misfits influence with the building a coffin for 2 and then building a coffin for 3. That sort of horror aspect in that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was intentional, but I can see that playing with that morbid humor.
Yeah, and
building for 3 so I can fit all my friends, saying you've only got one friend. It's funny.
And that song is literally a reaction to the internet, and the idea that we going online and literally going on any social media where you put out something you believe, like the first thing everybody wants to do is just like
Hate on it.
hate, no matter what it is, no matter what it is, and like
Be the greatest story of all
and
time.
like
yeah.
and like it just like the world has become so like divided, and like people just refuse to find any common ground in anything. And like I found myself like, and like most of us like I found myself like having these convictions and like believing in people who like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't believe in them, like maybe like they let us down, like politicians who I 100% stood behind and were like greatest ever, voted for him twice, like you look back and you're like, I didn't really live up to my expectations, or like like this guy was maybe just said all the right things to get me to vote for him. And so that song became kind of like that idea of like, just bury me, man. Like, and
disillusionment with the whole thing, you mean?
and like, and regardless of who you are, like if you're on the left or if you're on the right or red or blue or green or whatever you want to be, like at some point, like we're all just so fed up with it, you know. I think, you know, like I have friends who are on the complete other side of the spectrum from me, and we're still friends. Like we, you know, like there's some of my best friends, and like, and we're able to say that stuff, and like,
well, it should be that way, because different ideas shouldn't necessarily like threaten a person unless you're like enacting them and you're doing something that's messed up. But having different people having different ideas is how discourse happens, and how we meet in the middle of, well, we're interested in this, we're interested in this, well, let's kind of make a compromise. If everyone thought the same, it would be boring, there'd be no growth.
And I think that people like, I think even like there's a verse in that song about like some of the like even almost like, you know, punk rock never really like lived up to the revolution I thought it would be. Like when you dig into it, you know, like it eventually just became this like money grubbing thing where like you had giant bands like that started out as just punk bands in garages becoming like Blink-182,
Green Day.
You know, like I don't fault them for that. Like,
No.
but it wasn't like
The illusion you
they
were
were
sold
singing,
wasn't
you know,
there.
they instead of singing like, you know, like My War, they were singing like The Girl at the Rock Show. You know, like so like you know, like so there's some of that I, you know, of that song. And like, you know, I was playing a show with Johnny Chapman not too long ago, and before I was getting ready to go on, he put like a really upbeat poppy like thing on, and then like I immediately reflected on all of the lyrics in my song. I'm like, man, those songs are kind of downers. Like that's the perspective I write from. Like, oh man,
Well, the album doesn't sound like a downer, though.
No, it's all like
It doesn't sound like a downer.
So there's not a minor key on the record. So like literally, we like when we were doing like mastering it, like we had to write down every key, and we never really thought like, oh, what's this in? What's that in? What's this in? And we went through it. And I'm like, this whole record is every song is in a major key. So like, so there's like, there are downer songs that are written from like in the poppiest G major you can find. Like,
That's great, because that's the uplifting feeling that's in there, and the music like feels good to listen to. And then if you dig into the lyrics, which I, you know, obviously didn't read all of your lyrics, I just from what hearing them, but hearing you describe it now, I'm like, okay, there's more to dig into. And I always like that in music, when you're not the music has one feel, but then when you read the lyrics, you get something else out of it, because then there's more to interact with than just a surface level. If it's all right out there in front and as simple as can be, there's only one layer of interaction you can get.
Yeah,
you know?
and like, not that Two Fisted Law wasn't lyrically driven, but it was much more of a like guitar driven band. Like we thought way more about like guitar parts and like tempo, like making sure it's fast and aggressive and stuff like that, than we thought about like, are these lyrics truly meaningful? Mm-hmm. And I think The Strangers, I think we try and write like.
Were you writing any songs for Two Fisted lyric-wise?
I did not write. I wrote like parts.
Do you think that's a difference that now you're writing the lyrics, you're thinking about it differently?
Yeah, and I think that The Strangers started out as a band, like it started out as literally the songs are lyrically driven.
Yeah.
And like Two Fisted Law always started out with
Well, if you
with
started
the
them
music.
acoustic, they got to be
Right,
lyrically driven. You
right.
can't do like crazy acoustic
right,
leads.
and it always started, and The Strangers always starts with the lyrics, and Two Fisted Law always started with the music
Mm-hmm.
first, and like because Jim would always come into Two Fisted Law after we basically had the music written and then write lyrics for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a totally different process. You know what I mean? So.
That would make sense why the lyrical content's different and you're writing more deeply because it's you putting across these singer-songwriter things in a different format.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so I saw that you have a few shows coming up.
We do.
Let's talk a little bit about some of those upcoming shows.
Yeah, we have a really cool one that I'm really excited for on the 22nd. It's the Jukebox Romantics 10-year anniversary show. They are a band that, like, when they started, Two Fisted Law had been going for a little bit, and we started playing a lot with them. And they're another band that's gone through like lots of different members, and like their sound has changed over time. But that one's at Lucy's in Pleasantville, New York, and they're bringing back like all the old members to do all kinds of different like. Some of the old stuff, some of the stuff in the middle, so like everybody
Kind
who's
of a
ever in the
reunion
band-
show? Or,
Yeah, for
or
like
all cast show?
So like because like again that sense of community and like the friends we've made along the way, like that for us, like that's what it's about. Like the people who we shared stages with, the people who would come to those shows, like some people who stopped going to shows that you kind of lose contact with.
Yeah.
Some people who came to those shows, and like some of the old band members who we haven't seen in a while. So that's going to be a ton of fun. January 4th, we're playing at the Loft in Poughkeepsie at the Chance Theater with the U.S. Bombs.
And who are the U.S. Bombs?
The U.S. Bombs are another like kind of they're I don't know if I'd call them a big punk band, but like they're California guys who've been in the scene forever. And
you know them from like previous shows, or how'd you hook that up? Does this
so
relate to some
they
of
had
those
booked-
people you met?
They had booked. Well, the U.S. Bombs are doing a tour. They're kind of a bigger band, and with another band called Total Chaos, which has been around forever. So we've had a relationship with the Chance. So when bands like that kind of come through, they give us a call and say, "Hey, man, you want to be a part of this?"
And then the next one is the record release for
Solace. Yeah. So the next local show that's January 18th.
January
at Fast
18th.
Eddie's Billiards and like Solace again. Like I was saying before.
That'd be cool to get, you and maybe Alan or somebody to do a little spot before that. If you want to come on and talk about, we can do a
I'd
little
love to
promo
do that.
thing.
Love to do that.
Some video we can do, maybe share with Instagram and things like that.
Yeah,
we would love to get them, involved here and do
killer-
a promo thing for that.
Yeah, killer new like instrumental like doomy metal.
they're
like,
awesome.
What did you call them? The Foo Fighters of Doom?
Yeah, because like they had like those guys have been doing like that
Doom
kind of
Fighters.
like the Doom Fighters.
Oh, I see you got the Han Blaster here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. So you can always draw first.
Yes. Like they're very like doomy instrumental, but like also like they'll like throw a really poppy part in the middle, and you'll just be like, whoa.
Yeah.
But cool band.
Awesome. We should do something to promote that before that goes on. And so those are the shows coming up. You got the record, which is available. Where can people find that?
You can get it pretty much anywhere.
Give them the title and stuff so
It's
they
called,
know.
the band is Kyle Trocolla and the Strangers, and the title is The Moon USA.
The Moon USA.
Like anywhere online, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's you can get it on Bandcamp. You can, if you're near a Newberry Comics, you can get a physical copy at Newberry Comics.
Nice.
I think that's like one of the last like chain places where people can go and buy records, I think. But yeah, anywhere online that you buy music, you can get it. Anywhere you listen to it online.
And just kind of in closing here, we'll wrap up, but I want to get your sort of take on what's going on with the Danbury music scene. What do you see as a potential future? What do you hope happens? What would you say to people who are starting out in bands here? They don't have the Cousin Larrys that you had.
It's it's a
That's
tough
a big question. I'm sorry.
It really is, and like it's tough. Like I think what the scene really needs is a million all ages venues where like young kids can come up and like screw up a million times and learn that like that's okay and
We
like
need
give them a
another
place
Empress.
to play. We need an Empress. We need like VFW halls, the the
Yeah.
Polish club if they'd open up for all ages shows, which they can do. Like we need those all ages spaces or else like. The music scene can't be sustained by 40 and 50-year-olds.
Yeah, it's just these like cover gigs seems to be like who gets it.
But there's tons of great bands in Danbury. There's tons of great music in Danbury. There's
Who are
just
some people that you want that others should check out if you were to plug anybody? Say here, this is doesn't have to be just Danbury or just Fairfield County, but maybe 4 or 5 bands. You're like, hey, you might not know them, but this is a band to see.
I think Ethan's band Fiction is great.
Yes.
They're hitting it hard and they're working real hard and they're amazing musicians. I don't know what they're doing with Ethan.
Again, the bullying. They don't have a choice.
Seriously,
He's
right,
kind
that's
of,
probably it.
I think he puts Joe out in a headlock.
I will say this, Fiction. If you want to get rid of Ethan, I'm happy to take over.
Yeah, just draw a black circle on his hand.
Yeah, black circle. Union Rail is great. The stuff they do. I think Johnny Chapman is one of the hardest working guys around.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
like if you ever get a chance to go see he plays every night of the week and you could see him do one thing on a Monday and something totally different on a Friday.
And he's one of those rare types who can captivate a room just by himself with a guitar.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone can go and play. We all play acoustic and do this, but he has like a mastery of that form where you kind of get sucked into his world.
He's just a great the Strangers tour we did, he came with us and played bass.
Yeah, that's right.
And was amazing. It was great. Like he started out saying like, I'm not a bass player. And then like by the end of it, he was like, oh, it's just music. I got this. And he'd be shredding bass lines. Like there was one show in Pittsburgh that we played where him and Jeremy got into this zone where they were like trading licks and he's playing bass and Jeremy's playing guitar. And it was in the middle of the bridge of the song. So like, I'm like, well, I'm just going to stop singing and like, I'll be over here, guys. And like, I had to like, after the show was over, I was like, what are you doing?
It's Kyle Trocolla.
Seriously, my
name
name's on the record. It's not Jeremy.
Jeremy and Johnny dueling licks.
But yeah, there's still so many, like Zombie is a band that I think like if they come around and check them out, like they're working real hard. One of my favorite Connecticut punk bands is Always on the Road, a band called Cry Havoc. They are amazing. They're hardcore. If you're into hardcore punk, like go see Cry Havoc. White Thrash is one of the local punk bands around here now that are great. There's a ton of great music. Like I think like go out to local shows and you'll find like a band that you love that you can see once a month for $5. Like
I still think that's the best way for people to find new music. Just go see a band play because it's like there's, as you said, so much to weed through on the internet.
So much, and
that
like
if you go to see them play, that's the thing.
You might find something you absolutely love, and like like I say that to musicians, like when you play a show, like see every band, man, because like some of my best friends, like. I became my best friends because they were playing like the 1:30 set on a Thursday, and I was like, I'm gonna stay and see this band, and I fell in love with their band, and like they became like some of my best friends, and like bands that I would want to go see all the time.
Yeah, building that network.
And like I don't know how you wade through stuff on the internet, but like go out to your local shows, man.
So do you think there's still hope for the local area scene? Is there any venue you can see maybe being a place that's going to open up
somebody's
the doors
going to open one. I think it's funny in Danbury. The funny thing is like all of our favorite venues are now churches. Both the Heirloom and Larry's turned into churches, and I think there was even some talk about turning Tuxedo Junction into a church at one point. So like,
maybe we should find
so maybe the best way to get into music,
a church.
Like maybe the best way to get into music now is find Jesus, because like you'll find him at your last local dive bar.
And you heard it here from Kyle first. So any closing things you want to say to people?
No, thank you so much for having me, man. Like,
thanks for coming out, man. We'll definitely do it again.
Yeah, we got shows all the time. We're on all those social media sites. So if you follow us there, you'll find out where we're gonna be.
Yeah, let's try to put something together before the record release for Solace.
Yeah, absolutely.
get them on or in some incarnation. But dude, thanks so much for coming out.
Yeah, thank you for having
Really
me.
learned a lot. Again, I would like to do another like history lesson with you because it seems you've got so much to dig into. We didn't even touch on your...
we should do a whole show. We should do a whole show on just Cousin Larry's.
We gotta get like you and Johnny and Brenton and Jeff just sit down and then like do a whole
totally
round.
That would rule.
I'm seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta do a Cousin Larry's history lesson with the group.
What we remember from some very foggy nights at Cousin Larry's.
All right, man. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening to Next Stage Podcast or watching or whatever way you're consuming us. Again, Kyle Trocolla, The Strangers. Check out their album and tune in again. We'll see you guys soon. We love y'all.
Thanks, guys.